Bill. I thought I was cured.
I know you did.
I thought I had defeated
I
anxiety
know.
for forever and forever and forever.
I put another shilling in the gas meter
You
to
know.
warm that bath water
Oh,
up.
baby.
You know.
I don't know. The last couple of days have just been horrendous. And
They
this
have.
morning was no better. And I couldn't get out of bed, which I know the one of the best things I can do is get out of bed. But some days you just can't. And today's was one of those.
And one of those days.
And the anxiety won, and I felt terrible, and I had a cry. And I think I cried because I had anxiety as opposed to actually having it. It was like just the fact that I had it.
Well, somebody out there loved the intro, which is Rick. Rick, the angler, he loved the intro. So
Oh,
there you go.
nice one, Rick. Nice one. Good, Bill.
What do you think has brought this back on? Because you've been...
I don't know. There was something the other day that I did or said or that triggered some. I remember Dominic. Oh, I know what it was. I had a whole bunch of stuff happen on the computer all at once.
Yeah.
And I tried to sign on to make a group to do my writing group, and it wouldn't do it. And I panicked, and I think that, the fight or flight switch went on.
That's the thing that we talked about in the past, these panic attacks that can bring on so much more.
Mm-hmm. And here we are 2.5 days later, and I'm still not, quote, quote, better.
Do bath bombs go off?
Yeah, mine's going to go off.
It is going to go off if you don't use it soon, I tell you.
All I'm looking for is 25 days without anxiety, and I've yet to find it in the last, how long we've been trying, 3-4 months?
About 4 months, yeah. Almost as long as lockdown, really.
Yeah, I know. But poor me, poor you.
Don't worry about me.
Well, I do worry about you, because you never quite know what to do, and yet you do what you can. But just letting me get on with it, leave me alone. So today I went and I quietly read a book. I didn't get anything, quote, quote, done.
Yeah, you quietly read a book that you've only just bought.
Yeah, I know. I was very pleased.
Was it about swinging crystals around the room? Or
it was indeed.
Was it about food?
Both.
Both.
Swinging food around the...
Food around.
It was about intermittent fasting.
Okay, good. I am so excited for you.
Yeah, that's enough.
Look at me.
That's
your friend Shelley, all the way from Canada, says sending you so much love.
Oh, thank you, Shelley.
So
thank you, darling.
So
that counts and that helps. And
it does indeed.
Yes,
it does indeed.
Yes, and so that's how I am. I am like the weather, changeable. How are you, Bill Rodgers?
I'm good. I'm slowly getting things done. Slowly sorting out this big project that I've got in my head and my heart right now, and it will all be revealed on the 24th of September.
The 24th of September.
Yeah,
having a launch.
We are having a launch, and you will find out all about it. So people, don't ask me about it on here because I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
You will be emailed, you will be Facebooked, you will be told about the launch on the 24th, and it will involve cake.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. The reason I'm not saying too much about it is because I've not fully formulated the journey yet.
Right.
And obviously spoke to the peeps that I want to get involved with the project and stuff like that. It's going to be very unique. It'll be a bit like being in a play without actually being in a play, without actually paying to sit down and watch a play.
Okay.
There you go. That's all I'm saying. It's a bit Agatha Christie, isn't it? But there you go. Shelley says, keep going with your success. We are marking the success, Shelley.
Thank you,
but
Shelley.
I do wish she'd done it because she needs a bath. That's all I'm saying.
You say that all the time, and it makes me laugh every time you say it.
And you know why? Because I'm funny.
You are funny. You are funny.
So yeah, I'm good. I've been busy this morning.
You're very busy right now.
I'm very pleased that our podcast was picked up by the BBC.
It was indeed.
And it was on yesterday.
It was indeed.
On Radio Lincolnshire. We listened to it. It was on yesterday afternoon and then yesterday early evening.
Yeah, 2 different excerpts.
2 different excerpts from 2 different podcasts. So that's good. And I've just submitted some more today. So hopefully they might play some more. And
they were great. They kept saying, both sides of the medication card. It's called Both Sides of the Medication Card.
Absolutely.
It was a good little advert for the whole thing.
So God bless the BBC and the NHS. Yeah. There we go.
And then there were tweets afterwards that said, I've listened to this whole thing and it's very, very good.
Yeah.
So yay us.
So I'm well pleased about that.
You should be.
It's been a few months in the making and creating and all that kind of stuff. I'm saying a few months. It's been like 2 years.
I know. You should be very proud.
That I've been wanting to do this discussion of you and I between the medication cart. Because I don't know what the hell's going wrong with you when you get up in the morning.
I know, babe.
After 26 years, I still don't know.
I know.
I keep calling you I am your sometime carer.
Well, it's true, because when I'm well, you don't have to look after me. I know you keep an eye.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to, when you've got a toddler, to take your eye off
When
them.
you've got a toddler who's nearly 38 years old.
Nearly 38, I
Yeah.
am, aren't I?
You are. You are indeed.
But enough about me, enough about you,
Have
enough
you
about
had any
us.
joy in the last
I
24
have had
hours?
joy. Yesterday, right, I did have a difficult time, and we went for a meeting, and I made my way through that. But in the evening, I was ready to, and I didn't. I made myself get up, and I made myself go for a walk. And it was my second walk of the day, and it was brilliant. The sun was out, the sun lower in the sky for 7 o'clock in the evening, cloud, so it kept zipping in and zipping out, and it was warm and it was lovely. I took my coat off, and I walked my normal route backwards, which is a great idea because
You want to be careful doing that, you fall over. You already fell over walking forwards the other day.
I did, didn't I?
Yeah.
I had a good
So don't
fall.
start
I tripped
walking
over. I tripped
backwards
over the
business.
grass. I tripped over the grass.
I know, but don't start
But
that
no,
walking backwards.
I started
business.
walking, but walking your route backwards, you see so many new things. You just see it differently. So it was.
Does my face look really interested right now in what you're saying?
Well, you asked me what my joy was.
I know. No, it's the walking business.
Yeah, and then I came
No,
home.
the fact that you did it twice.
I know. Then I came home and I did my yoga like a
did.
good little
You
girl.
did.
I've
You
got
did.
a really good yoga for the over 50s.
Yeah.
So it's really easy. It's just swing your arm and lift your shoulders
Yeah.
and none of this warrior
It's like
stuff.
waiting for a redundant bus stop.
That's the one. So I did that. Thoroughly
Crouching
enjoyed
tiger.
that. And then I came upstairs and there was this beautiful smell wafting, and I recognized it immediately. It was Radox. And my wonderful husband, who sits here before me, I will tell them all, he ran a bath for me. Now we know he's actually run a bath for me because I smell, not out of kindness, but it was incredibly kind. And it was just the perfect temperature and everything. And I lit a candle so it was, but it was just really lovely.
Well, it wasn't quite the bath bomb, but you know.
It was good though.
Yeah.
And when you do kind things, it brings me joy.
Well, random acts of kindness cost nothing. We did a whole show about Reich. And
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or Rayok or whatever
Rayok.
it is. Yeah. Random acts of kindness cost nothing. And also, we have talked that when you do kindness for other people,
Yep.
well done, you guys. Big hug, Kate. You are amazing, lady, and so inspirational.
Thank you, Tracy.
Oh, don't do that, Tracy. Don't.
Oh, do it.
don't
Do it.
But when you do random acts of kindness for other people, you release some kind of
Oxytocin is the real measurable one.
Well, that's why I ran you a bath.
Yeah,
Yes.
to release your oxytocin.
That's it, yeah.
Well, oxytocin is often called the tend and befriend, yeah? And oxytocin is what gets released when somebody says, shall we put the kettle on? Go on then. Oxytocin is what gets released when you are with a baby, yeah? And
you always bring me my tea, which is,
which is your oxytocin release.
and yours, yeah.
But anyhow, that's what happens is when you do an act of kindness, and the latest research now that they have neuroplasty and can look at synapses in the brain and what happens, it's amazing.
You have got a book, haven't you?
I have a book. I'm up on this stuff, but but they have discovered that merely thinking about doing something kind for someone else, about kindness, will synapse the brain and release the oxytocin.
Oh.
So how cool is that? So all you have to do is think about being a nice person, and poof, you will feel better.
Well, when I win the lottery, I think I will let you buy me a new car.
Oh, that's very good of me.
How's that then? How's that? So your joy having a bath, having a walk,
having
that
and
kind of
having
communing
a bit of
with
yoga.
nature. That's what Tracy endorses, all that business.
Tracy and I are on the same page.
Yeah, you are.
Tracy and I are on the same page. Yeah.
Wendy, never mind being late. You are here, our friend.
Lovely.
You are here.
Lovely.
That's the main thing.
Give her the
welcome.
stubby. Give her the stubby.
No, the stuff she's missed. Too late.
Oh, okay.
Too late. No.
One round of drinks and that's
Everybody before Rick got a drink, but that's it. Everybody after Rick didn't.
it. Yep.
So
All right, that's my joy, darling. So you've had 24 hours since last we met. What has been your joy?
My joy basically is I've pottered today because I'm trying to build a mailing list of people. I know, and sometimes mailing lists can be take you a long time and it's laborious and boring and all that kind of stuff. But the beauty of being a procrastinator like myself is that 3/4 of the way through the mailing list, I started to look at cars. So
That's the joys of being self-employed.
the joys of being self-employed, but the joys of starting at 7:30 in the morning and not finishing until like nearly 6 o'clock at night. Even though
You allow yourself to putter.
I
and
allow
putter.
myself. That's my half an hour off, if you like.
Yeah.
My half an hour of escapism. Yours is walking, swinging your crystals, and taking your shoes off, whereas mine is just looking at stuff. And when I'm not looking at stuff to do with mental health, I'm looking at cars that save the planet. And that's what I've been looking at today.
Have you been looking at electrical cars?
I've been looking at electrical cars and stuff like that, and how I've convinced myself I'll never be able to afford one.
Yeah, they are dear.
They are very expensive. So for my own mental health and my own mindfulness, I'll never be able to afford an electric car. But they're doing a good thing for the planet,
They are.
you know.
Remarkable.
But I've also been blessed them. I've been looking at parents today queuing round the block at uniforms shops and going back to school shops, and people putting appeals out on Facebook, on social media, saying, what kind of shoes should I buy my 13-year-old or my 12-year-old going to that big school? Because I don't know. It says on the letter, black shoes.
Big transition for everybody.
You
Back
know.
to school.
Rick's Joy is having a coffee on Lakeside, so he's good.
Oh, lovely.
Brilliant.
Lovely,
Brilliant.
lovely. Perfect day for that.
Yeah, back to school. So there's a lot of stressed parents out there at the moment.
Bless them.
Going through nightmares that they've never been gone through. And it's extended by the extra time that we've had off since March, April time. Now panicking.
Big transition.
Now realising that their 13-year-olds got feet.
And cursing themselves for not having dealt with it sooner.
Sooner, absolutely.
Yeah. Procrastination.
Sometimes we were a bit like that.
We did a few last minute.
We did a few last minute things.
We kept waiting for uniforms to materialize.
But the thing is, with our lads, they never stop blooming growing.
I know.
So if we'd have bought a T-shirt and sports shirt, 10 or 12 days before going back to school, it wouldn't have fit them.
And then if you put them in something that's a bit too big, they're not happy
They're
with
not happy.
you.
They look rickety.
They're not happy
They look
with you.
rickety. They certainly do.
Yeah.
So yeah, my joy's been puttering about today and getting things
Good.
in place, putting all my ducks in a row. I think that's
Good.
what the corporate expression is. Wendy's joy, she says she saw a friend who she hadn't seen for a long time. We drove past her and we stopped to chat.
Excellent.
I thought you were going to see you run her over. We drove past her, drove back, and accidentally ran her over.
Whoops.
Well, that's good social distancing, though, isn't it? Sitting in the car and winding the window down and just a little tiny hello,
Yeah,
hi,
hello.
yeah, all that kind of
Not
stuff.
seen you in a while.
All that kind of stuff. But yeah, the stress of parents, bless them, are having to deal with,
Yeah.
school uniforms and all that going back to school. It's also very soon, isn't it?
It is.
Week after next, or next week?
No, it's next week.
Next week.
Yeah.
Crikey, me,
One
oh
bank
Lord.
holiday to go.
Well, oh yeah, the last bank holiday of the year. That's cheered me up. Even though we don't have bank holidays, but that's it. Till Christmas.
I know, it's amazing.
And that's when it'll all start again on social media, won't it?
And you know what I miss is autumn, right? We sort of have the Harvest Festival, but it's there's nothing that really marks it. We have Bonfire Night, that's
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
Bonfire Night's good. But in North America, both in America and in Canada, you have Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And that's a huge festival. Oh, and we have Halloween as well.
So when you said there's nothing, that's actually
Well, there's Halloween and Guy Fawkes, isn't there?
yeah, Bonfire, yeah.
But I guess the point I'm trying to make is I miss Thanksgiving.
Why do Canadians have Bonfire Night?
We don't.
Oh, okay.
We don't. We have Thanksgiving around the same time.
Right.
I think it's the second Sunday in
Because there's no way that
October.
you're going to claim Guido Fawkes as
No,
yours.
you can have him,
Thank
babe.
you.
You can have him.
Yeah. This is not an episode of Goodness Gracious Me saying he was an Indian. Guido Fawkes was definitely not Indian or Canadian.
But the moral of the story is Thanksgiving's a great festival between summer and winter.
Our dear friend Jane Smith says that she's finished for a long weekend. That's her joy.
All right, already.
Hoorah!
It is. It's Thursday, isn't it?
It is Thursday.
Yeah.
Yeah, all day.
And partway through the night.
And partway through the night.
That's what my mum used to say. Bring back nice
So you've had a bit of anxiety, but you pull through
I
it.
have. I'm not finished with it. I just, when I do the broadcast, it perks me up.
It does indeed.
Yeah.
It does indeed. So let's do...
Let's
a
be
good-
perky.
Let's do a good solid 4.5 hours.
4.5. I'm in.
We can't. We've got to finish on the nail today because Boy Wonder's doing his thing.
He is.
One of the things that we wanted to look at, you and I, and we did mention it yesterday, is a subject that we haven't touched on very, very much, because it is so veiled in stigma. It's so veiled in, stuff that people don't quite understand. It's so covered in, that must be really bad mental illness. And that, the word I'm about to use, everybody thinks that that's it. If you're mentally ill, this is what you've got. Whether it be anxiety, depression, bipolar, agoraphobia, you've got this, right? So, folks, today we're going to have a chat. I don't know if anybody of our crew's experienced any of this. We're going to talk about schizophrenia. And as soon as people say mental illness, you're schizophrenic.
Ah,
Schizophrenic.
it's gotten bad press.
It's got very bad press. And I think the reason it's gotten bad press, Kate, is because of places like Hollywood movies. They throw it around like toffee.
Yeah, and I think one of its flaws, or one of its, is it starts with the word schizo.
Yeah.
And just that schizo, has psycho schizo, that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
It just stigmatizes. So it is unbelievable that on a podcast or a broadcast about mental illness, it's taken us 108 shows before we got
109 shows today.
109 shows today before we got to schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Or schizophrenia.
I don't know whether we both avoided it or whether we've talked around it or whether we're not kind of au fait with what it really is.
Yeah.
But it's like I say, it's a label that's used quite a lot with people who've got some kind of mental health disorder. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, you're schizo. You're schizophrenic.
Yeah.
No, I've got agoraphobia.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're schizophrenic though. No, I have anxiety. I've got seasonal affective disorder. Yeah, but are you schizophrenic?
Yeah. Yeah. I hear you.
You know, that Catherine Tate kind of thing. Yeah, but are you schizophrenic? No, I'm not. Which kind of gives everybody who's got some kind of mental illness a label that they never knew they had.
It is stigmatized.
Very much so, very much so. So what we want to do today, we want to talk about schizophrenia and different forms of, and how it manifests itself, and cures, if you like, but not necessarily, there's no silver bullet.
Coping mechanisms.
Yeah. And a lot of the things that when we were researching this, you and I, a lot of parallels with other illnesses.
Yeah.
So you can understand the naivety of people, schizophrenia and all that. You can understand the naivety of people because it does manifest itself in many, many different ways. So we started with our experts, Dr. Google.
Dr. Google.
And Dr. Google sent us to Nurse NHS, who moved us round to Professor Wikipedia, and brought us all the way around again to the American Schizophrenia Foundation. And it is...
And schizophrenia in America is the same as it is in the UK.
Absolutely, apparently so.
It's unbelievable.
Only it's bigger.
It's bigger. It's bigger in the US.
There's a lot more money spent on schizophrenia in the States than there is here.
Well, I think that, if I may be so bold, may have to do with the fact that schizophrenia responds very well to medication. And the American style of healthcare, they like to medicate. People make money out of medication.
Anyway, it says here, schizophrenia is a challenging brain disorder that often makes it difficult to distinguish between real and unreal. So a fantasy world or a real world. It makes it harder to think clearly, makes it very difficult to manage emotion. Very difficult to manage emotion for many, many people. And to function normally, it affects the way people behave. Yeah. It affects their personality, the way they think, but it also affects their perception and how they see the world.
That's right. That's right.
Now, I remember you telling me a story about when you went in hospital in the early days. Now, I don't want to kind of draw it out for you because it must be quite painful, but you were diagnosed.
I was.
Schizophrenic.
My first diagnosis, I'll have you know.
Ever?
My first diagnosis was schizophrenia.
And how did they come to that conclusion?
Because I was psychotic. And I was psychotic, and,
Right.
and I recognize it now. I have memories that are a bit like photographs,
Yeah.
just a dash, just a splash, just
Right,
a
okay. Yeah.
tiny memory of, oh yeah, that happened, you know. And I was out of touch with reality. I was psychotic, and that is one of the major symptoms of schizophrenia. And so my first diagnosis, fourth word, second line of my chart said schizophrenia. You know, the admitting doctor in ER took one good look at me and went, "Oh, she's psychotic. She must be schizophrenic."
And that is without any kind of
Yeah,
examination?
they don't do that
or-
anymore. They don't. Well, he did examine me, and that's one of the memories that I have is
Right.
him coming at my eye with his magnifying glass that had a pinpoint light, and
Oh, that's the thing that you've...
with
yeah.
with my psychosis, and I'm pretty sure this happens with everybody, your senses get heightened, so you become super sensitive to hearing and super sensitive to light. And I have a distinct memory of him coming at me with a light and me backing off and being terrified and that. So yeah, he did examine me.
Wow.
He did examine me, and I think he tried to talk to me, and I have no idea what garbage or gibberish I came out with. I have no memory of that. But I do remember, and as you know, I bought my medical records thereafter.
I know, they wouldn't give them to you.
And you know, the admitting nurse had put down mental anxiety, and the admitting doctor wrote psychotic schizophrenic.
Now,
So
he,
yeah,
he was a doctor, not a psychiatrist.
he was actually a psychiatrist.
Ah, okay.
They called him down from the ward to ER to have a look at this woman who they thought had some sort of mental disorder going on. And he confirmed that I was psychotic, which I completely agree with him, and he said I was schizophrenic.
Rick's just said if we see and hear things that aren't real, it can be very misdiagnosed. It happens a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like we're saying, that it mirrors many symptoms of other illnesses that are the same. Anyway, I'll let you carry on there, Kate.
Well, the most common form of schizophrenia is, as you said, perception difficulties, right? Is paranoid schizophrenic. And that, again, is an altered perception of reality, right?
Now, that's the one that I've heard of. Or you
Yeah, paranoid
schizophrenic.
schizophrenic. That's why we'll start with that,
Yeah.
right? And people with paranoid schizophrenia see things and hear things that don't exist.
Right.
You know, and a lot of it is about getting signals from the TV, you know, from the radio, you know, with me, what happened in my psychosis is I thought I knew everybody. I thought I knew, hey, up, how you doing? Oh, it's me, Kate. How are you? And I talked to people, right? And I thought I knew famous people, yeah. And there was some basis of truth in that, like 6 degrees of separation, that I knew Tony Blair's nephew. Do you know what I mean? But I took this as being famous, right? And paranoid schizophrenia can cause relationship problems. It can disrupt your daily activities, including simple things like bathing. It can upset eating. You'll go for long periods of time where you don't eat, which just, you know, then you're strung out on hunger. Simple things like running an errand. But another symptom that happens as you become paranoid is you try and self-medicate and bury the symptoms through alcohol and marijuana.
That kind of self-medication.
Or harder drugs as well.
Yeah.
But, you know, so that's a real sign to the professionals that this person may be having some sort of paranoid schizophrenia if they're drinking. So yeah, so that's that. Now what happens is people with schizophrenia, you know, not all schizophrenia, not just paranoid schizophrenia, they withdraw.
But again, that's a very similar symptom to other forms of depression.
Depression doesn't like movement.
You withdraw.
You withdraw.
You know,
that's agoraphobia.
You withdraw.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So that's again, it's mirroring other forms of mental illness.
That's right. And people with schizophrenia will have an increased risk of attempting suicide. Yeah. They will have an increased risk of depression. Yeah. And they will respond well to treatment.
One of the things it also says that I read that it will have an increased risk in psychosis and psychotic episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that I can see that's why when they give you your initial diagnosis that you know, oh, you're psychotic, therefore you are paranoid schizophrenic. Incredible. incredible.
Yeah. And it terrified me. It terrified
I bet
me.
it did, because
You know, because
you
I
know.
was as stigmatizing as the next person. Schizophrenic? Oh my God, I can't be that.
I
Oh
know.
no, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me, help me.
I'm just a bit tired. I'm just a bit fed up. I'm just a bit
Yeah.
lonely.
Yeah.
I can't be paranoid
Yeah.
schizophrenic.
And
you
at the
know?
time, I didn't have insight into recognizing that what had gone on with me was schizophrenia. From my point of view, what had gone on made perfect sense. In my altered reality, it made perfect sense. And I could go through all the justifications, but, you know, I did the research on myself, and yeah, man, I knew Tony Blair's nephew.
Actually, so do I. It says here, when schizophrenia is chronic,
Yeah.
fears about everything not based in reality can can
Yeah.
really instill in you these. So you're making stuff up all the time. Most people with schizophrenia, they can get better over time, not worse, right? But treatment options are improving all the time. It says on my notes
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And there's plenty of things out there that you can do to manage this disorder.
That's right.
Right.
And another place where the experts are improving is in diagnosis. Yeah. And what they do now is they take a really long time before they label you. You know, label jars, not people.
Absolutely. Well, it would do with this one.
Yeah. So
I think.
they're treating symptoms rather than treating the diagnosis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that's quite not good, but good about schizophrenia is it's episodic. So it will come and it will go, and you have periods of time where you're absolutely quite well, and then you'll have times when it flares and you're out of touch with reality.
That must be incredibly disheartening, because you think, oh, I'm better now.
Well, this is what's happening right now with my anxiety.
You know.
As I'm going through a purple patch, and I think I'm ready to change my prescription, baby. Let's lower the medication, and then boom. One bad session with the computer and trying to do too much and panicking, and here I am 3 days later, still struggling.
Bipolar's cyclical, though, isn't it? That goes round in circles.
It is. I would probably go out on a limb here and say that most mental illness is episodic. And for me, that's why, like, I was ill in 86, and then I wasn't ill again until 97. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's 11 years. And I thought I was fine. And when I got ill, it was because I burnt the candle at both ends. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating.
Yep.
I was doing power shakes. I was pushing my body, and not even realizing that my body was vulnerable. But anyhow, that's my story. And the thing about schizophrenia that I want to mention is that there are periods of remission, and during those times, that's the best time to get your self-help remedies in order.
Well, we talked about that, getting your care package ready.
That's right. That's
you're
right.
going to be looking after yourself. If don't throw your meds away. Don't stop taking them just because you're feeling better.
Yeah.
Keep up with the regime.
And that is the huge pattern that all people with mental health problems have, is they start to feel better, so they lower their medication. And sometimes that works. Yeah, sometimes that's great, and more power to you. But for people who are chronically ill, right, and schizophrenia tends to be a chronic, if you've got it, you've got it. It's a bit like type 1 diabetes. You sort of can't get rid of it. It's like a bad thyroid that ain't working. It ain't gonna pull the ripcord, and it will start. So it's a real pattern that people lower their medication and then they come out of remission. So there are early warning signs of schizophrenia.
Yeah, let's look at the warning signs.
Okay.
Then. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
In some people, schizophrenia appears suddenly and without warning.
Yeah.
So there we are. But for most, it comes on slowly with subtle signs and gradual decline in functioning. Yeah. Often, and this is so important, friends, family, carers, loved ones, co-workers, schoolmates, they recognize
Everything I've read.
They recognize something's not right with you.
Yeah.
Something's not right, and you may reach out and they may say, you know what, you need to get help. And, especially if you've had an episode before, then you can start to learn and recognize the signs and whatnot.
Everything that I've read is basically friends and family tend to spot it more than you do, because the behavior is very peculiar.
And one of the main things about mental illness is that you lack insight.
Yeah, but it's not like anxiety or depression.
Yeah.
right? Anxiety, I know what it is with you. You get tears, you get shaky, you need to sit down, you need to be calm, right? Your depression, you don't want to get up, you don't want to move, you don't want to do anything.
Yep.
The thing about schizophrenia, the behavior can sometimes be very, very bizarre.
Yes, and wound up.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So sometimes your friends will spot it easier than you.
Yeah.
You just think you're being a bit over the
Yeah,
top.
and it's very difficult to spot because very often, you'll have a drink. And most people loosen up when they get a drink. And then you'll have another drink. And,
Absolutely.
I know it's just Frank. He's just like,
yeah, absolutely.
Whatever. But eccentric is a great word, that people who are entering into psychosis and entering into a schizophrenic episode will be perceived as being eccentric.
And what I'm about to say, I don't mean derogatory, but the mad scientist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
This is this thing again about the label of schizophrenia presents itself as a comedy or somebody who's incredibly dangerous, and that's the problem with this word and how it's used.
And part of the modality or how the professionals are dealing with it is that there is increasingly experimentation of how do you live with these symptoms, because the medication will cover the symptoms, the medication will mask the symptoms, the medication will alter your brain, but increasingly there is a movement of how do you live with this. So your mad scientist quite possibly is schizophrenic living with his madness. So another thing that happens is you can become unmotivated. You become emotionless and you become reclusive, because as your perception of reality changes, you don't get it. I don't understand why they behave like that. I don't understand people. I don't understand stopping at a red light. I'm just going to go home and stay there.
One of the things I did read, and you've used the word there, reclusive, is a lot of recluses in the Middle Ages when they were unwell.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they go and put themselves in the woods and build themselves a shelter.
Right. That's right.
And they become the recluse.
That's right. And this is
hermit.
Also when we're doing early warning signs right here. This is what you as a family member might be looking for. Is if the person has a history, you're really looking for it. It's when they start to isolate. That's trouble's coming.
Yeah.
When they start to pull back, when they neglect how they look,
especially
when they stop bathing, when they say peculiar things.
Especially if they've been gregarious and they've been life and soul, and they've been coming out and all of a sudden it stops. They will say there's something wrong with our Bill. He's not.
You're not yourself.
You're not yourself.
You're not yourself.
Yeah, you're not yourself.
Yeah.
And you've had that shirt on for a week, all them, they're the signs, aren't they? They are the signs.
Yeah.
What tends to happen as well is that they show an indifference to life. They just don't care. That what people say, what people do, the actions that they do, they just don't care. They're completely indifferent to anything around them. And it says that on my kind of advice here that things that they do on a regular basis, whether that be going to work, going to school, doing a hobby, playing football on the weekend, it just stops. All that just stops. So they don't play football on the weekend. They don't go out for a pint with Frank on a Friday. It just stops for no reason at all. One of the things as well, it says on my list here, there's common early warning signs.
Yeah.
So you can look for these in yourself and look for these in your friends and other people that you might care for. Don't necessarily presume that it's schizophrenia, though. That's the thing. Because of the thing of the mirroring, it can look like depression, it can look like anxiety, it can look like agoraphobia. But these are some of them.
Yeah.
Number one, depression and social withdrawal. Right? So we've got signs of depression there. We've got signs of social withdrawal. When you were diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, had you had any depression at all? Or
Not that I recall.
No?
Everything was fine. Everything was fine. If anything, I would be one of these people that it came on suddenly.
Right. Okay.
And then I was out in the real world with my psychosis for 3 or 4 days before my family got the call that said, you got to come and get this girl.
When did they decide that you weren't paranoid schizophrenic?
That I wasn't paranoid schizophrenic? Well, I will be perfectly honest with you. It was they gave me the drugs, antipsychotic neuroleptics, right? Yeah. And I didn't respond as they thought I should. So it's a little bit of a reversal of how they do diagnosing, is they gave me the treatment that they knew was good for schizophrenics, and when I didn't respond as they had hoped, they reckoned, well, maybe she's not schizophrenic. So my next diagnosis...
That's weird, isn't it?
Well, it's a funny way of doing medicine, rather than get the evidence and decide on treatment, is like decide on treatment as part of the evidence,
Well, that's mental health. It takes time.
It's very difficult.
Very
and
difficult.
when someone presents and they're in crisis, which is what happens at ER of a hospital, you're in crisis by the time you get there.
Yeah.
The main tool that this medical profession has is medication. So they gave me medication and I didn't respond appropriately, so they tried a different medication.
Try a different drug.
Which is, what happens a lot
Yeah.
and basically in a general hospital, all they're trying to do is get you medicated and get you stabilized and get you out.
I know. They want a bed. They want
The beds.
Number 2 on my list, it says you can become hostile or suspicious. Extreme reactions to criticism. So basically, that kind of protection, get away from me, I'm not part of that,
That's right.
can manifest itself in anger, as it says here, being suspicious of everybody. But the actions, well, it will be incredibly extreme. That's the difference. You'd go from being Mr. Nice Guy to, from being the mad scientist who's a bit quirky to the mad scientist who's,
Going to blow up the world.
going to blow up the world,
Yeah.
and end up in a Bond film or something. That kind of Mr. Blofeld, It also says that there is a major deterioration in personal hygiene.
Yeah, it's a good sign. It's a good sign.
That you stop bathing. That's what I'm saying. You've had that shirt on for a week, Bill.
Yeah.
Now
I have a little theory about that.
Go ahead.
Is that I think that what you're trying to do is you're trying to isolate, right? So you build a shell around yourself, and that includes personal odor.
So you make yourself ugly.
Exactly. And that will keep people away. That's what I think is partly going on there. And also, you get super sensitive, as I say, to all things, right? So water, water on your face, hot water, cold water, clean water, soap, But also, I think my theory is that you're trying to build a barrier between you and others.
Of dirt.
Yeah.
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 Incredible.
Of disgust.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
You may have a flat, constant gaze.
Yeah.
Where you're looking, we call it in theatre middle distance. You're looking at nothing that's a very far away.
Yeah. That's a really good sign that something bad's going on.
That something bad's going on.
Yeah.
Even though people may be talking to you, trying to communicate with you, trying to connect with you, but you just want to be, somewhere else.
And the response to that is, you're not listening. You're not listening.
Yeah, listen.
Look at me. You're not listening.
Yeah.
And part of that may be, in fact, that the person is listening to an alternate reality.
Absolutely, or they could be listening, and they are choosing not to be part of what you're saying.
We'll talk about.
We might come across that as we do more research. This is incredible. The inability to cry or express joy, or inappropriate joy and constant crying. Like, come on. You know what I mean? One or the other. I mean, I cried at Dumbo.
Well, I've got a diagnosis for you.
Well, there you go. Yeah, don't watch Disney films. But I cried at Dumbo, and I also laughed at Dumbo. You know what I mean? So it's like, come on, laughter and tears. I mean, that's
to an extreme.
That's
to an
incredible.
extreme. So you get both. You can't do it, and then you do it too much.
Yeah.
But those are
We're getting into the world here of Batman and the Joker and all that now, aren't we?
Absolutely.
That I've not seen the latest version of it with Knefner Knopfler, whatever.
Him too.
Him with a strange name. I've not seen that one. If the crew can help me out with his name, that'd be fantastic. But the whole film seems to be geared around his illness and his inability to stop laughing.
Is that Heath Ledger, that one?
No, the more recent one.
Oh, with Joaquin Phoenix.
That's him, Joaquin Phoenix. Thank you very much.
It's called Joker.
It's his called. That's what I said.
Did you watch it?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
No, both our kids have seen it.
They thought it was amazing.
And one of them, he's quite, because he's doing film at university, he was quite cynical to go and see it in the first place. But he thought it was really, really good. He gave it like an 8 out of 10, which is good for him. But the Joker had that character has a mental illness that he can't stop laughing.
Yeah. So there's truth in that.
So there's truth in that. The inability to cry or excessive joy, etc. Oversleeping or insomnia.
Again, one or the other.
I know, one of the...
So sleep disturbance, we could say.
Yeah.
Sleep disturbance.
Yeah, you can't quite get there and you can't wake up.
Yeah.
Now then, this is one, and I don't know whether it's just made the list because it is. Forgetfulness and concentration.
Oh.
You know what I mean?
Mind fog.
But that happens to you all the time.
Oh, my short-term memory is shocking.
You know.
But I don't know what that is. I don't know how much that's mental illness and how much that's, being 38.
38?
38 next.
Oh, it's 38 next.
38
yeah,
next.
okay.
But, it just, forgetfulness, and you'll see, I've been in hospital with people who have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, and they set up mazes for themselves so that they can remember what they have to do, and they do the same pattern over and over again so that they don't have to think about it. And it's a real difficulty to watch someone who is suffering from schizophrenia. It's a big diagnosis.
It certainly is. But that thing about remembering, that would really cripple me if I couldn't remember stuff. Odd or irrational statements is on the list here, and it's the use of words in a strange way. So you're almost like speaking in tongues, and you're constantly repeating words and saying words over and over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And then juggling those words up to...
And you have a difficulty communicating.
Yeah.
Because you can't say what it is that you mean, or what you mean is so garbled that people can't understand it. So, yeah, so this happens. And again, in youth, which is when schizophrenia often flares.
That's right, it does.
It's very, very popular in boys and 18 to 25.
I won't say it was popular. You know what I mean?
Gotta have it.
Prevalent.
It's my perfect.
Prevalent. Yeah, it is. It's in young people between 18 and 35.
As much as 35. I thought it was younger than that.
Yeah.
But you're trying to communicate and you just can't. So you know what you do? You have another drink.
And also, there's constant movement as well. You do repetition of movement. I don't want to belittle it by trying to pretend to do it, but they'll rub their hands all the time. People who are experiencing schizophrenia, or they will pat but there's constant repetition all the time. Bless them. And here's the biggie: hearing voices.
Yeah.
Hearing voices.
Yeah.
And sometimes many voices, sometimes one voice, sometimes two voices. Many. We might have to do a show completely about hearing voices because it is cropping up. All the bits of research that I've done over the last kind of 10 or 12 weeks, hearing voices comes up quite a lot. And it's the voices that made me do it. The voices do this, and they're quite real. And I watched a documentary on the old Professor YouTube. And there's a woman on there who's got 6 voices in her head, and they all talk to her.
Bloody hell.
They all talk to her. They're all different. And they've all got different personalities. I mean, one's a singer, one's really posh, one's from Scotland or something.
Yeah.
They're all very, very, very different. But she lives with them. She lives with them. She sits, she has conversations with them. Bless her, that woman must be going through hell.
Well, and again, they used to medicate. It was medicate. How do you get rid of the voices, right? And increasingly, the schizophrenic population wants to know, no, how do I live with this voice?
Yeah.
And there are self-help groups out there that are literally called Living with Voices.
Yeah, there's Voices UK.
So, for a woman to get on YouTube to talk about her voices, look how far we've come.
Oh, yeah.
And and how different stylistically treatment can be.
But she seems to cope quite well. This is the thing.
Yeah.
as well as the illness itself, as well as being
Sure.
schizophrenic.
And it must depend on your voices, because a lot of the voices, from what I understand, are very judgmental, and they order you to do things, and they might be things that you don't want
Don't
to
want
do.
to do, absolutely.
You know, so that kind of voice you might want to medicate to quiet. You know, but if she's got 6 voices that are, you know, having a party, then
And she's the host. I mean,
she's the host.
Yeah.
The good word.
Yeah.
Good word. Yeah.
Okay, so it says here, while these warning signs can result in a number of problems, not just schizophrenia. This is the thing about the mirroring I keep talking about.
Yeah.
They are cause for concern, right? They are cause for concern.
Yeah.
So when out of the ordinary behaviour starts to happen, it could be seen as a problem. So it's up to the loved ones in your life or friends and family to try and help you seek medical advice. If schizophrenia or other mental health problems is the cause, you getting treatment early. This is this thing about early intervention that we've constantly talk about on our show. Early intervention is the key.
Yeah. Know the signs.
That's why we do this, to kind of hopefully remind people who listen to us during the show live and also afterwards that, you know, to share with other people who are not well, that spot the signs, because it might not be schizophrenia. That's what they're saying here, the experts.
Yeah, that's right.
Any of the above that we've just talked about, the depression, hostility, deterioration in hygiene, flat expressionless gazing, inability to cry or laugh or over laughing, oversleeping, they're all part of something else. Like as I said, we've talked about it with mirroring. Seek professional advice.
Absolutely. And
Seek
you know,
professional help.
I've just maybe given general hospitals a hard time there when I said their main objective is to discharge you. You know, but a general hospital is for crisis, and you know, it doesn't take long to get out of crisis. You know, so seeking treatment, you know, the treatment that they have in today's day and age is superb.
It's also a question of accepting that you might have got a problem. I mean, that's part of the thing.
Yeah.
What we talked about in the past is that sometimes it's the stigma that surrounds
stops
mental
you.
health that stops you going to get help
Yeah,
in the first
absolutely.
place. Well, the stigma that surrounds the word schizophrenic
Is even greater.
is even greater than
Yeah.
just saying, "Oh, I'm depressed," or
This may be part of why they're reluctant isn't quite the right word, but why they're reluctant to diagnose, why they take time to diagnose, because it is a big diagnosis, you know.
huge.
So they might say, right, you are living with voices, rather than saying you are schizophrenic. I'd like to look a little bit further. We've done the common warning signs at some of the common symptoms.
Yeah, absolutely.
So once you kind of know that you've got the schizophrenia, what symptoms are you looking to alleviate? What symptoms are you having to deal with, right? And they reckon that there are 5 types of symptoms characteristic to schizophrenia, and they are delusions, right, which we'll talk a bit about in a minute, hallucinations, disorganized speech, disorganized behavior, and the so-called negative symptoms.
It's the hallucinations that always come to mind, isn't it?
It is indeed.
With it.
Yeah.
You know, that's associated
Yeah,
with
and
it.
and there's the cliche of, you know, you'll be having a conversation with someone and they suddenly go, just a minute, and they stare off into mid-space and they have a conversation with one of their voices, and then they come straight back and you go, something wrong there.
That happened to me.
Yeah, that's
Right.
why I'm mentioning it.
I came to see you in hospital.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you were there for, you know, just your average bipolar. And I was sitting having a cigarette. And this dear lady, bless her, she came and joined me. And she said, "Oh, you're Kate's husband." I went, "Yeah." She went, "Oh, my name, I can't remember. Let's call her Margaret for the sake of argument." She says, "Kate tells me that you know, theatre and television and acting and directing and all that kind of." I went, "Yeah." She went, "Oh, I had a great weekend about 4 or 5 weekends ago. I went to a wedding," she said. I went, "Oh, that's nice." She said, "Yeah. My sister got married to Mel Gibson." I'm Mel Gibson's sister-in-law. But I did not know that she was ill. She did it with such...
It could be true, baby. It could be true.
She did it with such conviction.
That's right. That's
I
right.
was sharing a cigarette, and she said, "Oh, it was fantastic. They had a big marquee and an orchestra, and the food was superb." You know, it's the first time. I mean, Mel's lovely. You know, And I'm thinking she must work here. I'm thinking that she's, she must work here at the hospital. Anyway, she did that. She went, just a moment, Bill. Sorry about that. I was just reading somebody's mind, not yours. One of them out there, and that kind of reinforced it to me that, oh, bless her, this woman.
She still could be Mel Gibson's
She
sister-in-law.
she could well be.
Because Mel Gibson might have a schizophrenic sister-in-law.
She could
We don't
well
know.
be.
We don't know.
She could well be. But what I'm saying, the stigma that surrounds it, you just said it, the delusions.
Yeah.
Did you not have delusions of being...
I had delusions extraordinaire. Hey, I was the second coming of Christ. And I was right. I tell you, it all made perfect sense. It was like my life fell into place. Psychosis for me was happy place. So I don't know that I laughed uncontrollably, but I certainly was at one with the universe. Beautiful, beautiful. And I also was a spy. I was there with the doctors and the nurses to spy on them, to report back to my family, who are all chiropractors, you see. And being an actress, of course, they would send me in. I had great delusions of grandeur. And then I had delusions that one of my brother's neighbors, that he was in love with me. Mm-hmm. So I kept making passes at him, because he was in love with me. And, I was quite overtly sexual with him. And I know.
We've got Celia on there who's talking about
hello, Celia.
voice hearing.
Yep.
What did she say?
Voice hearing is actually very common and not necessarily down to schizophrenia. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's just people don't talk about it because they are scared of misdiagnosis. Mm-hmm. Yep. Having different personalities is dissociative identity disorder and not schizophrenia. Yeah. So your lady, she may have been hearing 6 voices, or did she have 6 personalities?
6 voices.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but Celia's absolutely right.
Yeah.
One of the symptoms of schizophrenia is hearing voices, but just because you hear voices doesn't mean you're schizophrenic.
That's what I'm saying. The mirroring again of the symptoms is just incredible.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Anyway, goes on there, Kate.
Delusions. A delusion is a firmly held idea that a person has, despite clear, obvious evidence that it isn't true. Me thinking I was the second coming, surely that's not true.
Well, you thought it was true at the time.
We've yet to prove it. We've yet to prove it.
Yet to prove it.
Yeah. Delusions are extremely common in schizophrenia, but not exclusive to schizophrenia. Celia's point is
that's right.
Is spot
absolutely,
on.
Absolutely.
It occurs in more than 90% of people who have the disorder. And the delusions are illogical, bizarre ideas, or fantasies. And there are different types of delusions. You were going to tell us about one, Bill.
Yeah. One of the delusions that I found here is that belief that others are often vague, that they are out to get you. They are out to get you.
The Royal Council of they.
They get harassed quite quickly, and often they have bizarre ideas that someone is going to get them, either kidnap them or that there's a plot against them. This must be really, really tragic to go through this. But one of the things that the experts tell us is that it's not necessarily a real they either. It can be an ethereal day. And one of the common ones is that people from outer space are coming to take you away. Martians, says here. And that they put radioactive waste in the tap water. So there's something scary coming to get you all the time, and you're having to live with the thought that every time someone knocks on your door, they're coming to take you away. And one story I did read, there's a gentleman in America who has been apparently taken away by Martians several times. And he quite enjoys it. He quite enjoys it. He enjoys his trips to the craft, the mothership, whatever. But sometimes there's other people that might try and come and get him as well, and that's the scary side of his illness, which is not very nice at all. Bless him.
Mm-hmm. Another kind of delusion is what's called a delusion of reference, and this is where an event happens, and you think that it has special meaning. Yeah. So what it says here is, for example, you might believe that a billboard or a person on television is sending a special message specifically for you.
Did your mum not have messages through the TV when
My mum had messages through the TV.
When she was not well.
She thought that the TV, she ended up hexing the TV because the TV was telling her that her minister, Father Crummer, I remember his name, was the Antichrist.
Wow.
So yeah, so Martians I think is common, and religious ones are common as well.
Wow.
But reading a delusion of reference, is an event that happens that you think it's all about you.
Mm-hmm.
Like you might watch a TV show and you might get signals out of that you're supposed to do X, Y, and Z behavior.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then, of course, there are the delusions of grandeur, which we've just spoken of,
Yeah.
Thinking you're the second coming of Christ. Another really common one, and they take the mick out of this in Hollywood, is that people are deluded that they're Napoleon.
I know, I've seen that.
I don't know, but I don't know why. Napoleon is just popular. Jesus Christ I can kind of understand, but Napoleon as a character out of history is quite common as a delusion for people with schizophrenia. The other delusion of grandeur is that you might think that you have unusual superpowers. So you might think that you can fly, or you might think that you can stop the train, and dare I say, I think there might be some suicides that occur when people misunderstand and think that they have special powers.
Absolutely, walking
but we
on
don't
water
know.
and all.
But we don't know.
We don't know.
But yeah, so another delusion is the belief that you have superpowers.
Mm-hmm. One of the delusions it says here is that you have a delusion of control. You can believe, you can convince yourself that your thoughts and actions are being controlled by an outside force, that you're almost a robot. And again, the alien thing comes in again, whatever reality that you find yourself in. Common delusions include that your thoughts are being broadcast openly, either on the World Wide Web or on television or on radio, that your thoughts are being put out there, or that someone's planting thoughts in your head, and they make you want to withdraw. They're telling you to stay away, stay away, stay away. And they often cite two things. They say the CIA or the FBI have come to take all my thoughts away. Or it's the thought police. We've heard that before. And the fact you can't remember anything, the fact that you don't know where you are, is because someone's stolen all your...
Well, that's the paranoia. People are tapping into your brain. People are changing the way you think. People are, robbing your thoughts. It's just it's very, very frightening. And again, people learn to live with these delusions, but very often people seek medication to help.
Absolutely. And on that note, Kate, it is 4 o'clock. We will leave it there.
Ooh.
We've got a lot more to go on this. It's a fascinating subject.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes.
And I think the more we know, the better we will be.
Absolutely.
About this. Schizophrenia. It is not what Hollywood tells us. It is not all about, Norman Bates dressing up as his grandmother. It is a seriously thought-provoking illness that we should know more about.
And the thing that I take to heart, that I really am pleased with doing this research, is that it's episodic. It comes and goes. You can live a fulfilled life even if you have a diagnosis of schizophrenia.
And we'll talk more about that tomorrow. Yes, I'd just like to say once again, crew, thank you ever so much for being there and listening to Kate and Bill rabble on about mental health and what we should do to change people's perception about it and take away the stigma. Kate, say hello over there to your pals.
Hello over there to my pals.
Now say goodbye to your pals.
Goodbye to my pals.
Goodbye, pals.
Don't my nails look good?
They look great. Well done. And let's hope tomorrow is the beginning of your lack of anxiety.
Less and less every day.
We keep trying to get there from day 1 to day 25.
We will get there. We will celebrate. And as Shelley says, keep celebrating. Keep celebrating. Thanks very much, Rick. I hope you catch something and it's not a cold on the bankside. Take good care, folks. We will see you tomorrow, where we will continue. Hang on. Celia's written, people with schizophrenia are not schizophrenics. Absolutely. No, hang on. What are they then? I don't know. Is that... I don't know. We'll look it up. Okay. We'll look it up and we will find out. Or no doubt someone like Celia may tell us, what are they then? Oh, I see. No, I've read it wrong. People with schizophrenia, not schizophrenics. So schizophrenics is probably not in common usage anymore.
That's right. And
I
that's
stand corrected.
That's the American and Hollywood thing again.
People with schizophrenia. Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
That's
So
the Hollywood thing
yeah,
again.
it's that thing of I have schizophrenia, it doesn't have me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because I'm not a bipolar ick.
That's right, yeah.
I have bipolar.
Bipolar, that's right.
Sorry, darling. I know you're trying to sign off.
I'm trying to sign off,
but I'm
we have
learning.
we're always learning. Every day is a school day. Every day is a school day. Guys, thank you very much. We will see you tomorrow. Take good care. PEWO. No idea what that means. We'll look that up, or if you could send it across and let us know, that'd be great. Kate and I are only experts in what we know about, and that is Kate's journey.
And we're learning all the time.
Learning all the time. Take good care.